Victory disease doesn't defeat you, but it does sometimes arise before your ultimate defeat.
Yeah. We would call that in the redneck world, hey, y'all, watch this.
Oh, my beer.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Hi, I'm Ginger McClish from St. Louis, Missouri, medical oncology hematology consultants, and you are listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast.
Thank you for that intro. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs and Security First IT, and joining me is Donna Grindle of Cardin. How's it going, Donna?
It's going well. And you, David?
It is going bubbly well.
Yeah, here I am trying to be real nice and calm, but no, you got to go off.
Nice and you all zen like.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So we can't go into it, but Donna had a nice trip to a zen spa or something. It was interesting. Come to the boot camp if you want the whole story.
Yeah, right. It could have been. Yeah, we agree that it's perfect fodder for a sitcom. That's all.
Yeah, it was. So today we're going to talk about cybersecurity roles and how tough they are. But let me go ahead and say from the start, before you go, oh, I don't do cybersecurity, and turn the podcast off. Understand, cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility. So
and that's one of the things we're going to point out.
Right. So don't turn this off thinking you're not IT. Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. All right. Now that I've said that. And also, don't forget, if you like this episode, or if you don't, it doesn't matter. Share it out on your favorite social media. And also rate us. Rate us on the podcast and app and all that.
We don't push that enough, apparently, I've been told. We don't encourage that enough.
Yeah.
We just, we publish stuff, put it out there, hope somebody listens.
Well, we try to keep the fodder down so we can get right to the meat of it. But, there are housekeeping things that have to be done.
Indeed.
Speaking of which, where are you going to be coming up?
March 6th with the North Georgia AAPC chapter. And then in April 7th, I'm going to be in Savannah. You know I love to go to Savannah. I will be in Savannah teaching a cybersecurity class, actually. Going to go through the HIPAA plan and a half-day workshop. So I'm really excited about it for the Society of OMS Administrators National Conference. Looking forward to hanging with those folks. So, yes.
Cool.
And
then, well, of course, right before that, between the two you just mentioned, there is the HIPAA boot camp. So looking forward to that. March 20, 21, and 22 coming up quickly. And as this podcast actually goes live, the early bird pricing is now over. Sorry,
you missed
folks, you missed it. However, if you don't say nothing to Donna, give me a call.
Hey,
and I might hook you up.
Here I thought we were going to say the early bird pricing for May is still in effect. David's saying he knows a back door, so there you go.
Yeah. So if you can find me and you can sweet talk me, I might be able to get you something.
Oh, geez.
Just don't tell Donna.
Oh, jeez.
She'll take it out of my pay.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you are interested in coming in March, you really need to get on the ball and get that going because it is a month away.
But it's not a month away.
Or less.
This is March 1st when this one comes out. So,
well,
yeah. So we're looking forward to it. And there's also the May date, which is 15th, 16th, and 17th of May.
Yeah. And you can already register for May, by the way. Some people don't realize that, but you can go ahead and register for May and get your seat reserved. We have a lot of people who have said that May is the one they're shooting for. So kind of a little worried that we're going to fill up May quicker than normal. So if you're interested in May, you might want to go ahead and get in there.
Or just come in March.
Yeah. We're coming March.
So, and we are still pending approval for CEU units from the Compliance Certification Board. We have submitted everything. Hopefully we will pass muster, but it takes 6 weeks. So hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And I do have to say that we are also going to have a special guest on the show. I guess it would be in 2 weeks, I guess, that we will be discussing a cybersecurity coverage because they are a-changing. So.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting conversation because I hear a lot of horror stories about, we have insurance for that. No.
Yeah, the horror stories I hear is, well, we thought we had insurance for that, and now we have this problem.
Yeah.
So, but we're coming up on our 200th episode, so we're trying to come up with some interesting and different things to do. But we'll have to see. We got a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak.
Right.
So, let's get into cybersecurity roles are tough.
Yes, cybersecurity, which means everybody, if you're listening, it is your responsibility as well. But these roles are tough. And, we do hound IT folks all the time about making sure.
Especially in the last few episodes.
Yes. But there's a lot going on. If you're in the IT world, especially the MSP world, there's a lot changing, and it has been changing here in the past couple of weeks that things have gotten crazier. And if you listen to the episode a couple episodes back, as I was in my fetal position, you know why. But we've been hounding IT folks, and there are some recent studies and articles out that discuss the world and the viewpoint of the people who have that cybersecurity role in the IT staff. And of course, since we know cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility, we're going to talk about that and what all that looks like and how crazy it is and why it's so important.
Well, and it helps people to, if you're not in that role, if you spend some time understanding what their perspective is, it might help you be more supportive of them in their time of need.
Yeah, their time of need. All right, so I think the articles that you have, though, or the surveys that bring up certain points, and then we're going to go through these points and kind of hit those.
Yeah. So the first that I was really going through and thinking about was an article. I'm a big fan of dark reading and multiple authors on there.
Not reading in the dark, right?
Right, that's right.
Dark reading is not reading in the dark.
Darkreading.com.
There you go.
There you go. So, but Kelly Sheridan is one of the many authors that I follow and really like it's on my feedly every day. But they did an article, Security Spills, 9 Problems Causing the Most Stress. And it's really looking at what's causing the most stress for people responsible for cybersecurity. And then last week, the HIMSS Cybersecurity Survey was published during HIMSS, their 2019 survey. And both of them are referencing a lot of these surveys of people that are in, this business and say, how bad is it? And what's stressing you out? Because that really does matter in our big picture. Of course, HIMSS, the Health Information Management Systems Society, for those of you who do not know, their survey is healthcare specific. And they had 166 people in different health information security jobs respond to their survey. So that's a pretty good cross section. And I can't begin to tell you how many people were responding to the things that dark reading was referencing. So the big thing about us saying all the time that healthcare is under attack, I want to get out right quick here that the HIMSS report told us. First and foremost, and at first I'm reading it going, wait, what? And then I realized not is in there. So their big headline was 22% of respondents reported they did not experience a significant security incident.
Okay. So they're doing positive spin reporting.
That's right. Right. Because that's up 1% from last year. 21% did not have a significant security incident. And only 4% this year said they didn't know. which, I guess that could happen. So you're looking at that and you think, well, 22%. Wait a minute. Wait. That means 74% had at least one significant security incident last year.
That's a lot.
It's down 2% from last year.
That's good.
Yeah, but it's not that big of a deal, really.
Yeah.
When you look at, and just so we know, a significant security incident does not mean that a breach happened.
Right.
It could, but it doesn't always mean that.
Mhm.
So,
Well,
I spin.
the thing about that too is we don't know what defines significant.
Well, all that matters is, was it significant to you?
Everything is significant to me.
Yeah. So that's the big thing is they don't clarify that because they know that it varies based on, your organization. What is significant to you might not be significant to someone else.
Well, in IT, we understand that, we consider a server outage to be significant, but our clients tend to think that not getting to the cat videos is significant. Or can't get my email. I mean, it's a problem. Significant, it's not, but it is a problem.
Right. Well, and that is part of the thing is you may not know you had a significant one because it did occur, but IT took care of it.
Oh yeah, and we definitely have those.
Yeah. So a lot of people though, they look at this number and say, well, HIMSS is all hospitals, and that is not true. No. David and I can tell you. Hopefully life will settle down so that next year we can go to HIMSS again. But it did include organizations besides hospitals, and they single that out and they say there's vendors, non-acute providers, and others. And that average of people who did have a security across those three, still 69%. Mm-hmm. So again, size does not matter.
We proved that time and again.
There you go. And I did like, the executive summary because they do like half a page of executive summary so that they can get their points across because they're very important. Mm-hmm. And the very first one that they put in that net section is significant security incidents are near universal experience in U.S. healthcare organizations, with many of the incidents initiated by bad actors leveraging email as a means to compromise the integrity of their targets.
Didn't we just talk about that?
I know. And then I see the headline that says email is the most common initial point of compromise for significant security incidents. What did we talk about?
Yeah, like last episode.
Yeah, email is dangerous. And I hadn't even read the HIMSS report when I wrote that.
Man, your ESPN is working.
Oh, ESPN. Yuck. All right, so they ESPN, the magazine. Good news, though. They did have some good news in the report that said that it appears that the security risk assessments, that we're getting better at them.
I'm just glad we're doing them.
I know, right?
That means we're getting better at them. We're actually doing them.
Yeah. Well, and what they do is they put a list of stuff that says what's in your security risk assessment. Mm-hmm. And, more people are able to say the stuff that should be in there is in there. So that's great. And OCR, we say it every time there's a settlement at almost every single one, except for some obscure privacy ones, which are very rare. The statement in there is failed to do a complete and thorough risk analysis. You're done. And then the other good news is apparently the ones that are doing the phishing test, which there's a larger number doing the phishing test, although everyone isn't in the healthcare study, but I think a majority of people were, but we're talking like 51%. But of the ones that are doing it, a majority of them say their click rate, which is what you judge when you do the phishing test, mm-hmm. is how many people actually click on it.
Right.
Their click rate is less than 10%, which is what everybody wishes they had.
Yeah, that's good unless you have a small organization, then that's a lot.
I know, really. If you got 10% click rate and you got 2 people, it still doesn't work out right, does it? So, it's still 50-50. But the smaller the organization, the smaller that number should be, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was good news that in healthcare. But there was one hugely important thing that I always worry about that was kind of buried, and it doesn't go in with some of the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to bring it out in this discussion because it drives me absolutely insane. It makes me even more paranoid, which, that's a lot. That people are getting, there's a concern about people getting overconfident. And they even say in the report, overconfident leaders may be lulled into believing there are a few challenges they face in managing the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of their organization's information and technology infrastructure, and may be susceptible to dropping their guard.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, that's a bad thing. And it will happen because people will get complacent. And we do that in everyday life. So I see that happening over IT security as well, which is a bad thing.
Yeah, the minute I hear it, I get nervous.
Yeah.
And there's a long history of it. They call it the victory disease in the military.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that there's there's some that we know that are current, but it goes back into ancient history, literally.
Back when you were a little kid.
Yeah, that's right. I had that pet pterodactyl and
T-Rex.
T-Rex. There you go. But it goes way back into history that this has happened over and over. So, like Napoleon's, they were defeated after they tried to invade Russia because they became overconfident. We don't need to think about Custer's last stand. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was overconfident. And Hitler didn't learn from Napoleon. Things started going downhill when they invaded Russia. And then, of course, the Japanese attacking Pearl Harbor. And we all know the famous statement of, I believe we've awakened a sleeping giant.
Mm-hmm.
But all of these are due to overconfidence.
Yeah.
And they say victory disease doesn't defeat you, but it does sometimes arise before your ultimate defeat.
Yeah. We would call that in the redneck world, hey, y'all, watch this.
Hold my beer.
Yeah.
So, but it's one of those things. Confidence is great because not enough confidence. You're afraid to try. You're afraid you're going to do everything wrong. So you just shut down, which we run into a lot. Too much confidence and you forget that how you got there.
Mm-hmm.
And you get overly confident, and then you have to have a healthy amount of fear, and paranoia, which is why we live in that world. So,
yeah.
So then we get into the article and how that ties into this HIMSS report of what keeps your cybersecurity people up all night, your IT people. And the first two we've talked about a lot, and I know you and I talk about. You have this problem.
Let's not talk about my problems.
But truly, I mean, people hire MSPs because they don't have the skills internally, and some of them don't want to develop them or don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
But then the MSPs also have the same problem. You don't have enough people that are talented with the skills that you need in cybersecurity. I mean, you just because you know IT does not mean you know cybersecurity.
Oh no, those are very different. And yeah, I mean, of course there's I'd say a world shortage as far as cybersecurity professionals goes. And when you get deep into truly understanding cybersecurity, that's kind of a subset of a subset, very specialized type of knowledge. And so, when you're an MSP and you're out there and you're providing IT support for smaller businesses, and then you're doing security and all that, you can't have that super deep cybersecurity understanding. It's way too focused and specialized for what you are able to do. And so in our world, we have to kind of figure out kind of the 80-20 rule of that. What can we do that provides, the greatest amount of impact, but yet requires the least amount of knowledge and skill and all that. And then we supplement those skills by outsourcing it to cybersecurity firms that have that deeper skill set.
Oh yeah, and those folks are not cheap because it is in demand. I mean, there are literally millions of open jobs in cybersecurity world.
Yeah, and that's the point of outsourcing it, is that there's no way that most of the smaller businesses can afford somebody like that, and in some cases we can't even have somebody on staff that's that expensive, because our clients are not going to be able to afford or justify how much we have to go up on the price to give them that.
Yeah, and that is a big issue. So you can't get the people. So then you end up doing the other part, which is, first of all, security is too big for any one person to do on a large scale. Mm-hmm. But in most cases, particularly in the smaller environments, it's not your only job. It's not even your first job.
Right.
Yeah. And, that voluntold thing that one of our clients said, I've been voluntold that I'm in this.
Everybody step forward, and then, one guy stands still and everybody else steps backwards.
Yeah. That's what one of the quotes that they gave us in the article was about. InfoSec Institute doing a survey and comments in their survey about how overwhelmed the people that were responsible for this was. And remember, this is not just healthcare, but listen how healthcare sneaks in. Mm-hmm. That, as David said, one fell into security because everybody else took a step back, leaving him into the front. And, that's exactly what we talk about. But then it said another is the designated HIPAA security officer as well as the IT security officer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they got that job. One IT expert took on security because he was the senior member of a 2-person IT department, and another, quote, inherited it because nobody else was doing it.
Yep. So most of these are not people who said, I'll be more than happy to take this.
Yeah. So not only are they not trained in doing it, it's not even their first job, and no one else was doing it. So you got multiple jobs, and you don't understand how complex some of the security stuff is.
Yeah. Well, we see this in small practices as well. You have somebody that's like, okay, we need to make them a privacy and security officer or whatever. And we understand that has something to do with IT. So, hey, Susie, you're pretty good on Facebook. Let's put you head of IT. It's like, what?
Or the other one I love is you get the call from somebody saying, we're looking for some help. I've been put in charge. Apparently, I was the one asking the most questions.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll teach you to ask questions next time, won't it?
I know, right?
You think this is such a good idea. Why don't you do it?
If you're worried about it, you go do it. Because we don't understand it. So, but the point I make is, we're all doing multiple jobs, but there's a certain situations where people have to understand what's going on, be able to assess the situation, and be at the top of their game. And if you, especially in healthcare, it's easy for us to imagine, if you've got the doctor in the middle of a surgery, a complex surgery, and all of a sudden you tell the doctor, we're going to need you to put that on hold for a minute because the marketing team can't get their email to go out, and it got to go out right now.
Yeah.
It's something that's a minor alert that you miss could become a massive problem. And all they're doing, it takes 5 minutes per alert is what the article pointed in a survey, that they did an estimate. And just to review a single alert and decide nothing's wrong, that's 5 minutes. Great. When you get 1,000 alerts a day, do some math. Mm-hmm. And if I got one person fully focused, I'm doing how many in an hour, and I'm being interrupted.
Right. So. Yeah. And this also speaks to one of the challenges we have in that for our clients, we are doing so much work on the back end. And then oftentimes we have to have a conversation with them, and they're going, well, we didn't really have any problems this month. And, I'm not sure that we really need IT. And we're thinking, are you out of your mind? Do you have any idea how much work that we have to put into all these alerts you have and protecting you from yourself and things we've blocked? And so it's a constant communication trying to show where that value is because they just don't understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And that is another reason we wanted you to hang in here and listen, is the fact that you're not a security person and you're not seeing things means your IT is working.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just because you're not seeing problems doesn't mean you don't need them. It means they're doing their job. So, and like we said in the beginning, that, you know, you could have significant stuff going on the back end and they're taking care of it. You don't even know it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So again, though, here we are in that you've got to have the resources. You've got to be able to concentrate. And then, of course, they got to know what to do.
Yeah. But it's also worth saying, you know, also don't assume. Don't assume because you're not seeing or hearing anything that IT's got it. So
exactly.
You know, you still want to ask questions.
Yeah. Reference the previous discussions we've been having.
Yeah.
That, yeah, it doesn't mean assume. It means, hey, you know, show me what y'all been taking care of.
Yep.
Let me see some documentation of how we're doing. And make sure that they're not playing some brand new game that they downloaded this weekend for free.
Yeah.
And up all night. Because it happens.
It does happen. It does happen. But I mean, you should be having constant communication with, you know, your IT, whether it's internal or outsourced. And when I say constant, I mean, you can define what that means. Maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's weekly, whatever. But you should not bring them in once a year for a conversation.
Yeah, and when we ask questions, they say, well, doesn't IT handle that? You're supposed to know.
Yeah.
You know, you're supposed to know what they're handling. And it's definitely one of those cases.
Yeah. And we have that all the time. No matter how hard we try, we still run into that at least a couple times a year where somebody says, well, I thought you were doing that.
Mm-hmm. You're like, where does it say we're doing that? And a lot of that comes down to, you know, my classic one. You ask the doctor, who handles your disaster recovery? Well, our IT company does our backup. IT company, do you handle disaster recovery? No, we just do their backup.
Right. Yeah. Well, that jumps into areas where, you know, you don't know what disaster recovery really means. And so you don't know how to answer the question.
Exactly.
You know, which we do dive into in the boot camp and really dissect that.
Yes, because that's the next thing that the article referenced was having to stay on top of all of this stuff, knowing the terms, knowing the constantly evolving landscape that we're dealing with. And, you know, you expect the IT people to just know this, like they pick it up through osmosis.
I tried that in high school. It didn't work.
You know, you should know how to fix the printer. You should be able to keep email up and running, you know, 24/7, 365. You should know every patch that needs to be loaded. And you should handle all of our documentation and alerts. But, oh, by the way, we're not going to pay for you to get any training, and we're not going to give you time off to get any training because we need you to do all those other things we just told you about.
Yeah. And in the middle of all that, you're getting all these other cybersecurity things that has to be addressed because this new threat happened today, and then another new threat will be tomorrow. And It's crazy.
It's all of that. Yeah. Which is why you need to, anybody that's tasked with staying on top of all this stuff needs to come to the HIPAA boot camp.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the funny part is when we have IT show up, whether it's internal or outsourced, they typically walk in the door kind of going, well, I understand this, you know. And then after day one, they're like, holy crap, I don't understand this.
I did not know what I didn't know.
Yeah. I thought I had those 8 pages covered, but guess not.
Yeah. And it doesn't get better the further we go, down there.
No, but which is great though, because they, once they understand that they weren't as versed in it as they thought they were, and they see all that really needs to happen and not just all this technical stuff. I mean, they tend to dive right in because now they really understand what they should be doing and what their client needs from them.
So that is the perfect point to bring up. Another thing in the article was nobody's worrying about compliance. It's what they're stressing out about, staying awake. Is you've told me I'm going to be the security officer, and I am trying everything I can to do all this stuff, but on the flip side of that, I'm not getting time to do all that compliance stuff that you think I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
yeah. So compliance, yes, we know compliance is not security. It doesn't make you secure, but if you're not doing the compliance work, you either are not going to be secure or you're not going to be able to prove that you did the work when something goes wrong.
Right.
So you've got to get the training done of the technical people. They need to have, that piece of the pie done on a regular basis. It's not something they can do once a year because we know about once a year training.
Mm-hmm.
Our new ad. I love our new ad. Shout out to Bonnie. Our marketing person came up with a fantastic new ad for us. I can't wait to share it. But the big issue here that the HIMSS thing pointed out was that, that day-to-day information security operation and management, if you're involved in that, you need additional education and training just to stay on top of what's the latest stuff. Even if you already know. Mm-hmm. You've got to learn what you got to worry about now to prevent and mitigate the new things. And then they clearly state this includes giving healthcare cybersecurity professionals time off to take training classes and education and paying for them so that it's necessary to arm them with the knowledge and know how to handle a variety of security incidents and know how to prevent, mitigate, and or remediate them.
Yeah. And it changes so quickly. I mean, I can't stress that enough, how quickly the landscape of this stuff changes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even I'm reading some of it and I'm like, how is that one working?
Yeah, because if you're an organization and you're making the decisions about training, you go, well, we just sent the guy to a training last year. Dude, I'm telling you, that's a million years out of date.
I know, right? It's a constant, and it doesn't mean they got to go to conferences every month. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is they need dedicated time to learn, and they need sometime full immersion out of work, away from the day-to-day so they can learn. But other times you need to know they need to sit in on some of these webinars. They need to participate in discussions on discussion boards with other IT folks without you going, what are you doing on social media?
Mm-hmm.
David, our rant episode was from David having conversations in a Facebook group about, what HIPAA requires for security and IT.
Yep.
But in that, constant concern about compliance and training and all of this, if I don't get regular training, I don't remember all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I take an hour or more every day and read. I know. Nerd.
Yeah. Well, there's so many different ways to get the information now that, in addition to giving them that downtime to really focus on it, there's also, and IT people typically are pretty good about this, but not always, but it's that constant staying educated and what's out there and how you're going to address it, but some people do stick their head in the sand because it can be overwhelming really quickly.
Yeah. It's very, very complex out there. You'll see a new one come by and it's like, holy crap, how does that work?
Mm-hmm.
And I personally just like to, freak out every now and then. and so that's why I go in and read the ones that, it's not my job anymore. And so I back up and say periodically, let me go read how this thing works. And then, a rabbit hole and a half later, I'm really glad that I am no longer doing your job, David.
I know. Sometimes I wish I wasn't doing my job either. But
that's it.
But another point is, if this isn't scary enough, is to also realize that every single business is now a target. I mean, we are a target of either nation state actors or hacktivists, or I mean, there's just a number of things out there. And sometimes it's that you're a specific target, and other times it's not. You're just caught up in a net because somebody clicked on something or whatever. But it's not just some guy sitting in there with his hood on, his hoodie, and he's like, oh, let me see what I can get today. I mean, in some cases, this is very specific targeted attacks at an industry or at a business because it's one nation fighting against the other. So we're all caught in a war.
Yeah, it's literally a cyber war going on, and people don't realize they're part of it.
Oh, yeah, it is. And, you're talking about the dark reading. Well, a podcast that I like to listen to is called the Darknet Diaries. And it's, the whole podcast is about the dark side of the internet and things that go on. So it's not all about the darknet. But they recently had some episodes in there that talked about nations attacking other nations and what went on. And these are things, I'm thinking, dude, I wonder why I never heard about this, because this could have been World War III. And just things that are happening behind the scenes all the time, where nations are attacking other nations. And he made a point in the episode of the podcast to say that he believes the reason why these things aren't culminating into wars is because cyber war is so new that people aren't really sure what is an indication of an active war yet.
Yeah, it's true. Like, how do you know? Well, let's see. Every part of our government's been attacked. All of our major companies have been attacked. And healthcare, we already know, is part of our critical infrastructure. It is defined in the Department of Homeland Security's list of 16 critical infrastructure industries. And if you don't think they want to bring down the critical infrastructure, I mean, come on. That, you're not seeing the bigger picture of where you are. You're making this assumption that so many people do of, what, this is just my phone. Mm-hmm. No, it's a way in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the good news is the HIMSS report did say, in their discussion of budgeting, they did say that it seems that there's being more money spent targeted at cybersecurity. Now, it didn't say if that is because they're putting more money into IT, or is it they're taking money away from some other IT budget to increase the cybersecurity budget. I don't know.
Right.
But who knows? It's constantly evolving, and we have to invest in the resources and the tools that will get us past that and defend us in this war that we're fighting. And here again is what it takes, because it's the people.
Oh, yeah. It absolutely is.
So it's just you thinking, somebody else is taking care of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the HIMSS stuff even talks about reviewing cybersecurity policies to make sure that they're actually being followed. Because we see that all the time. Well, yeah, we've got a policy for that. What is it you say when, let me see your password policy on your new clients?
Yeah. Well, now I'm starting to get into, let me see your checklist. Because we're starting to find, there's routine things that are done constantly. And then, there's a step miss, and okay, where's your checklist? Well, I don't have one. What do you mean you don't have one? You're not gonna know if you miss a step. And that's why checklists have worked so well in healthcare and, the airline industry and all these things that are super critical, because if they're not being done right, people die.
Yeah. And people don't get it. But we've been about that, haven't we?
Absolutely.
We've been about it. So when we tell you to finish a checklist for us, we mean it. Yeah. Well, it's a part of the process. When you look at the HIMSS report, remember those significant incidents that we were talking about, and they ask, what caused them. And of course, email was there, but 1/3 of the incidents had to do with negligent insiders others, actors reflecting benign motivations. So they weren't doing it on purpose. They were basically not paying attention, not caring. And as the Dark Reading article said, nobody gets it, and it's freaking us all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the human error side of things, but it's also what we've come to start calling, the human firewall.
Yeah. Yeah. It is that, there's the malicious, which everybody is, oh, well, we don't have anybody that's going to do that. Well, first of all, that's
that's almost bad as saying nobody wants my data.
I know that goes back to the victory disease. Just because it hasn't happened yet, or just because you don't know about it yet, doesn't mean that's the case. But then you have, by and large, these benign actors, the people who, I'm just helping somebody out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, somebody gave me this USB drive to bring it to work so I could print some reports off of, homework reports or whatever. And now next thing you know, you have an infection.
Yeah. Well, or I just plugged this thing in, I got the okay to purchase it.
Yeah. And that's a great segue into the next one, which is you don't know what you don't know.
Yes. We say that all the time. How can I protect things, protect our data from things when I don't even know you're letting them in?
Oh, yeah. That's a huge problem.
You build a castle wall, you put a moat out there, you limit the entrances, you narrow down, you've got guards all around, and then somebody brings in a Trojan horse. And that's why the nerds call it that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There is such a thing as a Trojan horse. And when you invite them in, and I don't even know you've done it, hey, look, I brought in the Bud Light night.
Yeah. Well, we had this exact thing happen a couple weeks ago. Client calls and, hey, we need to do PCI stuff. I'm like, okay, great. And then they proceed to tell me they've added a credit card scanner to the network and plugged it in. How long has that been there? Oh, we've had it for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you don't know. I mean, you look at that thing, you don't know the security on it.
No. It's completely.
You don't know what it's doing, who it's connecting to, nothing.
Nope.
And it's absolutely terrifying to people like us to go, where did this come from?
Mm-hmm. And, there are tools and services out there that alert you when new things get added to the network. But the problem is oftentimes the client doesn't want to pay for those types of things because they don't see a need.
Yeah. Why? We know when we put something in.
I'll just call you and let you know. I don't need to pay a little bit extra money so that can happen. Well,
yeah.
Obviously you do. Because you aren't letting us know.
Yeah, the people shortages prompt us to do things in an automated manner. The budget shortages don't pay for the automated manner, and they don't pay for the people shortages. So there you have, you're opening up the hole that then everything falls into.
Yep.
Right there because, somebody plugged something in. But not knowing what's out there and what's happening is almost as bad. To some people, it's almost as bad, rather, that they do know some of the things that are out there. Which is what the HIMSS report brought out and this one was absolutely terrifying to me. 69% of those 166 that worked in healthcare said they had at least some legacy systems in place. 14% claim that over 10% of their systems qualify as legacy operating systems.
Mm-hmm.
So the majority of people say we've got problems. Is what they're saying, and what they mean when they say these legacy systems, they're saying these are things like Windows XP. We talk about that.
Yeah, but what most people don't understand is that nowadays nearly everything electronic has an operating system, and so they're talking about my computers and my server or whatever. But what about all these other things that run these operating systems that you're not aware of, or you're not updating, or you don't do anything with them? They're still computers.
Like that credit card machine you just plugged in.
The credit card machine or your phone. I mean, everything nearly has an operating system of some sort that's electronic nowadays.
Well, and the medical devices.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, it runs Android.
Right.
Okay. What version?
It's an operating system.
Cotton candy? That's a C. I don't remember which one was C, but, if you don't know what version, you don't know how it's secured, you don't know what the vendor does to support it, you don't know what the vendor's doing when they do support it, what are they leaving open?
Mm-hmm.
I've had problems repeatedly back in the day on the job I'm glad I don't have anymore, that repeatedly with vendors, you give them the ability to go in and then they would leave things open.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just can't do this. But, they do make a point of it's eating even your heating and air systems, their industrial control systems, phone systems, all of these things that are connected to the network are potential entry points, and people don't see that way.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I mean, that kind of brings us all into the very last point, which is the whole Internet of Things. IoT stuff makes it all that much more crazy.
Yeah, because you at least have some clue. When they did the survey, they said 48% of the people reported having outdated Windows servers. That's something you see and and you're still doing it. 35% said they had Windows XP, and in February of 2020, tick tock, not long from now, in February of 2020, all of those Windows 7 devices get in that same pile.
Yeah.
So we haven't even cleared those out, and now those are things everybody should know that. And now I'm going to start plugging in this, hey, I bought this off of eBay.
Yep.
It's one of the original voice-activated things, or, the secondary market for medical devices. It's a big market.
Yeah.
Printers and scanners, and I know it makes you paranoid, doesn't it? Just that IoT thing completely. Paranoia will destroy you.
Well, it's like I said, people oftentimes don't realize how much they're connecting to their network. I mean, crap, nowadays, vacuum cleaners are connecting to the network and refrigerators. I mean, it's crazy, the amount of stuff.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm just never going to, as much as I like gadgets and all of that stuff, I am never going to go to the grocery store, stop in the middle of the aisle and look at my fridge. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, we've had a client that has their refrigerator in their office is connected so that some other third-party vendor can monitor the temperature to make sure that the things in the refrigerator are,
medications and
right.
stuff.
So there's and that's one of those things where we stumbled across because the third-party vendor put in the Wi-Fi extender piece or whatever to connect to the network, set it all up. Nobody notified us, and then we're going, what is this new thing on the network? And we literally had to walk around until we found it.
Yeah, it did pop up on your discovery, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
At least that one did. I mean, everything doesn't.
No.
And if you're not doing those scans, you never see them. And you're absolutely right. I mean, people don't realize it. If somebody asks, what's your Wi-Fi code? That's where you stop. And you talk to IT. You don't just tell them.
Yep.
And you're just setting yourself up for trouble, because what you don't realize is, that monitor of the fridge works great, but the people that built that, security was the last thing on their minds.
Oh yeah.
They're not selling security.
No, you're absolutely right. When these vendors are creating things, they're wanting something that works. They're not really that concerned about the security side of things, and so it's security's not first, it's last. And it's like, look, we're building something that works. You can figure out how to secure it.
Well, yeah, that's and they always kick the can, down the road, so to speak. And you don't have somebody worrying about security, which is something that has come up recently in multiple scenarios.
Oh yeah, we had this thing Thursday. We had a client that called in. They're not in healthcare, but had a problem with this software that wasn't working. And before we called the software vendor, we pulled up the instructions on how to install the product to see how it's set up. And in the instructions, it says to run this on the network, you should go to the server and share out the C drive.
What?
I swear to you, which is exactly what I'm talking about. These people don't care about security. They want their thing to function. And so the easiest way to do that is to give everything in the network just complete and utter control so that there's nothing that can block anything. And then there's
I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on that.
I'm telling you.
Sure.
And it's it's a small third-party software company. They don't care about security. They care about the product working and nothing blocking it. So it's turn off everything that's security, do everything that you can possibly do to make security not an issue, so that our software will work.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So we don't get a call.
Right.
Or a complaint, and we look good.
Exactly.
So you can see now we've taken you through all this. You can see there is plenty to keep those people that are supposed to be doing security up at night. Plenty. And your assumption that you shouldn't be up with them is very wrong.
Let's stay up late.
That's right. You should be playing the video games with them. The Dungeons and Dragons and all that kind of stuff. You learn about the overconfidence, and there's a Dungeons and Dragons battle theme about overconfidence is a long and insidious threat or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but I'm sorry that sharing out the C drive that right there is worth calling up that vendor and like that airline commercial where they get on get the call, you're fired, and they get on the plane and tackle the boss in the middle of a meeting because they called.
Yeah.
Yeah. That warrants that.
I know. It's crazy, but it's true. It happens all the time.
Find them.
Yep. So anyway, that's our cybersecurity roles are tough. Maybe you get some little inkling of what you're talking about now.
Yeah, they're spread thin, they're underfunded, they need education, and you just keep throwing things at them and assuming because I know how to fix a printer, I know everything else, and it's just not true.
No.
It's just not true.
Absolutely not.
Even if I think so, it's still not true.
That's right. It doesn't matter what you think.
There's plenty of people that'll tell you they know. I worked in the hospital for 10 years. I know all about HIPAA.
Okay.
Were you the privacy or security officer? Then no.
All right.
Anyways.
All right. So that brings us to the end of another exciting episode. So don't forget to share out the podcast on your favorite social media site. Rate us on a podcasting app. We need your help to spread the word. Don't forget about the HIPAA Bootcamp. It's coming up quickly. And also, don't tell Donna, but, give me a call. Let's see if I can hook you up with something if you're going. So anyway, for Donna and myself, don't forget, the HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.